What is going on out there, all you lovely, wonderful FreeMelons? Thank you very much for joining me here once again. My name is Eli Martyr. Today we are going to be sharing a book list with you. This is going to be a book list that is comprised of literature that is important to have under your belt in terms of health, eating, diet, general wellness. These are books that helped me and allowed me to start accumulating the understanding of natural principles. And before I share this list of books with you, just general housekeeping. Just because I'm recommending these books doesn't mean I absolutely agree with every single thing in the book, okay? It comes down to discernment. It's a question of discernment. So all of these books are fantastic that I'm going to recommend. However, it takes a lot of reading before you start to piece together general commonalities that are true, and you start to be able to identify, okay, what might not be the greatest information and what is better information. Some books have a higher proportion of good content to not so good content, and others are like a mixed bag. And anyway, I'll let you know. But yeah, so that's just my general thing. Just because I recommend a book doesn't mean I agree with every single thing on every single page, okay? So let's get started. One of the first books I started reading as a kid was Paul Bragg's The Miracle of Fasting. This is a great book. It has a lot of the principles of natural health, natural hygiene, and obviously it's focused on fasting. So what you can expect when you're fasting, hurdles to overcome, things not to do, how to break your fast. It's all in here. One of the original good books on fasting. So I highly recommend it. This is the book that started me on my weekly fasts, way before I was fruitarian and when I was first becoming vegan. So Paul Bragg, Miracle of Fasting. It's a really good one. This next, I think this is one of the first books that I picked up when I first decided, okay, I'm going to start taking charge of my health. I want to know how this all works. And it's Natural Cures by Kevin Trudeau. Now, I guess it's a bit of nostalgia that is connected me to this book and why I'm recommending it to you. But I have to be careful here because, like I said, a lot of the bits and pieces in here, in this book, are not ideal. Would not fall in line with any kind of natural practice of health and eating as I would teach you. So if I remember correctly, I mean, he's not advocating a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle. I believe there's still, a meat inclusion in this book, but just goes into, the best sources of animal products and all these kind of things. But the value of this book is that it goes into very, very good detail outlining the politics of food and the food industry. So there's the whole first section breaks down how the industry is controlled and really good information, solid information on how that works. As the name suggests, he gives you tons of healing methodologies and techniques and a systematic protocol that you can use to detoxify yourself. He goes into a good detail on all the different ways toxins are introduced into the body and specific healing techniques for specific diseases and whatnot. Now, again, really, there's only one true way to deal with all disease, and that's a return to nature, a return to a natural modality of living. So I understand that, but it's not that different techniques can't work. Herbal remedies, acupuncture, massage, sauna, all these kinds of things, these are all techniques that you can use and can be helpful. He shares a lot of that. So it's a very, very good general all-around book, but obviously you would need to supplement this with material that is much more focused on natural living. Okay, so keep that in mind. But this is the book that got me started. So I encourage people to read it. Keep your discernment about you. Next book might be obvious to people who are subscribers to this channel, but if you're new to the channel, Professor Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet Healing System. Absolutely fantastic book from page 1 to the end, chock full of solid, good material and reliable, truthful, natural material. Pretty much everything here is going to make very intuitive sense. When I read it, the immediate connection was, yeah, this makes total, complete sense. seems to harmonize very well with human instincts and whatnot, and human intuition in regards to what is natural. So anyway, can't speak highly enough about this book. This is a must-read if you want to understand how your body works and how healing works. Mucusless Diet Healing System, gotta have that in your library. Along similar lines of the mucusless diet is this book, this old book. It's Fruit, the Food and Medicine of Man. It's by a guy named Maurice Crock. More supplementary material on how exactly fruit is, in fact, the best food, the most natural food for man, giving you all sorts of evidence and pointing to all sorts of corroborating philosophy and understandings that support the fruit-based diet. The book was originally published in '61 under a different name. I believe it was called The Conquest of Disease, and then later it was retitled to this title. So if you see it labeled as that, then it's going to be the same book, but you probably want the newer version. It's a short book, quick read to get a good understanding under you. Highly recommended. The next book I'd recommend is a fantastic book. It's called Toxemia Explained by J.H. Tilden, one of the pioneering authors in the natural hygiene movement. The book is about essentially exactly what it states in the opening statements. The true interpretation of the cause of disease, how to cure is an obvious sequence, which it is. It's the antidote to fear and frenzy and the popular mad chasing after so-called cures. And the book is exactly that. And it'll bring you back down to the bare essentials of what exactly is disease, what is toxemia, and how that leads to conditions and how you can avoid it. So that's a great book that I can recommend to you guys. The next book, Dr. Robert Morse's The Detox Miracle Source Book. This is loaded with everything that you could want to know about natural eating, and again, this is one of those books that I can't speak highly enough about. You will learn so much. This will break down, what are fats, what are free radicals, what are antioxidants, what are all these things, what are vitamins, minerals, what are essential amino acids, non-essential. There's also an extensive portion of the book that covers herbs. So what herbs and what herbal tea extracts will have which particular function. So that's a great one if you are trying to recover from a particular disease or condition, then you need this in your home so that you can have a quick reference as to, what herbs should I go and get, to help me detox and clear this particular condition. Skin disorders, obesity, neurological disorders, parasites, high protein diets, the energy of food, anabolism and catabolism, the difference, the lymphatic system, its role, all the vitamins, blah, 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 on it goes. Great book to have. This next book is one that, again, I will recommend with a little bit of caution. Not that you have to be cautious reading it. It's Earl Mindell's The New Vitamin Bible. I would recommend this to the very, very scientific-oriented person who wants to know exactly what vitamins do this in the whole spectrum of vitamins. You want to know what all the B vitamins do, particularly their deficiencies, the blah, blah, blah. This is the book for you. It's basically an encyclopedia of not just vitamins, vitamins, minerals, all the macronutrients, all the micronutrients. It is a very good reference for anything in the microscopic world related to health. Okay, if I had to sum it up. So what the book does right is simply giving you the information of the existence of those things so you can understand, their classification and whatnot. The interpretation of that data is where this author sometimes, missteps, recommending things that do not fall in line with natural principles and natural eating, right? But classifying and giving you the facts of all the nutrients in existence and whatnot and their functions, then this book is great for all of that. And also there's a big section of the book that's devoted to healing. So what vitamins and minerals you are deficient in if you are experiencing this particular disease or condition, how you can regulate it, how you can correct it, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Again, it's not my preferred approach. I find that adds an enormous degree of complexity to the understanding of life and vitality. However, if you're in the field of health and you want just further understanding, why not? It's a good book in that regard. So there's a great book by a guy named John Frank Newton, and it's called The Return to Nature or A Defense of the Vegetarian Regimen. This book was written in 1811, beginning of the 19th century, if I'm not mistaken. One of the pioneering books on natural hygiene and the way the body works, the energy dynamics and the health dynamics that are conducive to optimal health. And this is a good one to read. If anything, it shows you how long we have known about these natural principles. And that they're so lacking in society, in the norm today, really speaks to how lost in the sea of health information, we've become. We've understood the basics of human nutrition for a long, long time. And it's just, over time, we've just gotten more and more and more confused. And that's because authors like this, with this type of information, were just put on the sideline, in place of more profitable big business, agribusiness, pharmaceuticals, all this kind of stuff. The overly scientific approach. This is in PDF version. I don't have the actual physical book. You might have to do a Google search, or I can post the links to these PDFs in the description. A book by Emmett Densmore, The Natural Food of Man. This book is fantastic at giving you the common sense philosophy and understanding of why exactly it is that, in particular, grains and legumes and whatnot are not suited to human digestion and human physiology. He gives extensive research, corroborating studies and findings, experiments and all that will really, really help to solidify the insuitability of most all types of food that we consider normal, aside from fruits and nuts. So he's the fruit and nut proponent, and it all makes sense. It all makes very, very good sense. The Natural Food of Man by Emmett Densmore. It's a very short book, so you're going to have a lot of fun reading this. You can blast through it and come away with great understanding. There are so many books, guys. For example, a really, really, really popular book is Wheat Belly. Very, 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 very popular book in the low-carb community. And there's another, it's the same author, William Davis. It's Wheat Belly 2. It's not called Wheat Belly 2, but it's the second book he wrote on the subject of wheat and grains. Can't remember it, but anyway, that and this book. Now, this author is in the low-carb community, okay? The high-protein diet and the high-fat diet and the anti-carbohydrate diet. That's the angle that they're coming from in writing this book. And it's funny because there's so much good information in this book, like solid information on the dangers of wheat, what it is, how it's unnatural, how, all of this really good information in Wheat Belly. But it's interesting that the same philosophy that, the author applies to how wheat is unnatural, it's almost as if it completely forgets that same philosophy and applies it to meat and whatnot, forgetting that it's just as unnatural to human physiology as it's strange, it's weird. So, it's a good book, but yeah, you'd have to keep your wits about you. Understand that these guys are coming from that low carb community, which, you do not want to be living on a low carbohydrate diet. This is what is in the long run going to get you sick. Okay, you don't want this. High carb, high fat diets are far too stressful on the body. They were never intended, the original literature on low carb diets was never intended to be a sustained long-term thing. It was an experimental thing. Anyway, yada yada yada. So if you do read Wheat Belly, if you've heard of it, you don't necessarily need to avoid it, but if you read it, just understand that you have to keep your wits about you when you're reading it, because you're going to get a mixed bag of really good information and then really off information. It's strange. Okay, that's it for now, guys. I hope that comprises a good list of books for you. If you have read them, then fantastic, power to you. There's a lot more literature that you could go into. There's no end to the amount of books that one could read. These ones are particularly great. I chose these particular ones because they're very accessible to anybody, right? It doesn't matter where you're coming from. These books will fascinate you and maybe motivate you into taking your health to the next level. Anyhow, thanks for listening. Subscribe to the FreeMelon Society. If you have not become a subscriber already, you don't want to miss important content when I release it. And You can help me out by giving this video a thumbs up. Leave your comments in the comment section. If you have other books that you'd recommend, that you want to contribute to this, to this group, then yeah, please leave them in the comments below. Maybe I can make an addition to the description and add supplementary books that the community is also recommending and adding to this list. So with that, I will thank you again, and we will see you next time on the FreeMelon Society.